Hey everyone, welcome to GVN Interviews. My name is Mike Vaughn, and today I'm talking to director Andrew Rutter about his short film, The Heritage, which you can see right now on Hulu as part of their bite-sized Halloween collection. I really loved the short film. I thought it was like Society meets Dead Alive meets Lovecraft.
Thank you so much. That's I can't get any better than that for a compliment. That's brilliant.
What was your particular inspiration for this short film?
So this one in particular, I think it stems from a mixture of things. It's funny you mentioned those particular filmmakers because those were massive influences on me growing up, like Brian Usner, Stuart Gordon, early Peter Jackson. But also, just for this one, I'm a big fan as a filmmaker of taking quite mundane, normal life experiences, like meeting someone for the first time, something that could be taken and made into like a drama, for instance, a man meeting his biological father, and then kind of flipping it and taking it to really absurd levels, just like with this particular film, because my last film had similar kind of traits where it's a man, trying to start a new chapter in his life, meet a family, meet his partner's daughter for the first time. So it's really, the influence is kind of taking really sensitive and high stakes scenarios and then just turning them on their head, really.
Now, you mentioned in an interview for the Motion Artist Collective that you've always kind of been interested in dark comedies. Is that something that something you want to keep pursuing as far as like with your films?
Yeah, I think the beautiful thing about horror as well is that there's so much scope inside that genre to play with all kinds of different things within it, and I think comedy is a good vehicle as well, just to kind of, if you want to take people on like a sort of roller coaster ride within a film, I think comedy has a good way of just kind of alleviating certain tension and then, doubling down or throwing back down on some of the more intense and horrific kind of stuff. So it's definitely something I'm probably going to carry forwards. But it's like one of the best films I always cite is American Werewolf in London, where that is a film where it can balance really humorous stuff, but then there's scenes in that film that are so horrific and so scary. But it just has this wonderful balance, and I think that's the way I'd approach it as myself as a filmmaker, rather than in your face comedy. I think it'd be more of a kind of a balance, I think, and try not to go too far one way, like too far comedic.
Yeah, because I definitely think with Heritage, it's very funny, but it just gets increasingly more uncomfortable and unnerving until it just sort of like all hell breaks loose, literally.
Yeah,
I love it.
exactly. Yeah.
That makeup job for Bruce Jones was amazing. How long did that take?
That was that was done by Dan Martin and his team, and they designed the suit. So because essentially the effects is like a big suit, and then the head is like a piece that is attached to the actor. And they were working on that design for I think about a month. I mean, time has kind of gone out the window for me now because it was such a fast process. But I think they were working on the design for quite a while and the build of the actual character. Because basically my direction to Dan was, he's this guy who's kind of fused to an armchair, and he's quite large, he's fleshy, he's very slimy. And Dan kind of went to town and went away and came back with like a sort of 3D render of what he could look like, and it was amazing because the 3D render looked like a little action figure, and I thought, oh, that'd be great as a little merch. But and then Dan went away, and then it was a case of him sending me pictures, and it was developing that way, and Dan had his own his own designs and ideas in there, like if you notice, Albert's got really long nipples. That was all Dan. But yeah, it was. It was a very, very fast turnaround, and Dan and his team just did such a great job.
Yeah. Now, would you say this is the most ambitious short film you made to date?
I'd say, yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of my films previously have all been quite rough around the edges, in the sense that there's not loads of money behind them, and the team was drastically smaller on my previous stuff. So The Heritage was definitely like a step up, and a much bigger team. But it was a brilliant experience. It was probably one of the best experiences I've ever had, I think, on set. Even if it doesn't feel like it when you're watching it, because it's so depressing and and hideous.
Yeah, but again, I think you balance the humor really well. So it definitely was a little disturbing and unnerving, but like you didn't mind necessarily taking that journey, I guess.
Yeah.
Which it's I mean, hey, use that quote. You didn't mind taking this journey. So have you had a chance to screen the short film, and if so, what was the audience reaction like?
It's actually not screened anywhere yet. It's so fresh out of the oven. I think we only pretty much wrapped on this film in terms of like post-production only a few weeks ago, really. So it's so fresh. It's like it just hasn't even had a chance to go anywhere really at the moment. So it has been submitted to festivals. So we are waiting on possible selections and future screenings. But it's just so early days at the moment. I'm really hoping I do get a chance to see it with an audience, because I think some of the reactions I've seen online have been quite interesting.
Do you remember any particularly memorable reviews or anything like that you read online?
Most people are just finding it so revolting. So a lot of people are struggling. I saw one review that he just called it absolutely revolting and disgusting in every way. I think it affected this particular person. He could. I think he couldn't quite watch it. He had to like kind of keep glancing at it. But that's cool, man. I don't, it's one of those films that I don't expect everyone to love either. I think it's one of those that you're either on board or you're kind of not really. I think it's it's quite a strange one.
It's so funny because I definitely don't mind gore. Obviously you can see I have
amazing collection.
Thanks. This isn't even all of it. It's kind of but I love it. Yeah, it's so funny though, because I can handle like gore stuff like that, but like the giant, was it pimple?
Oh yeah.
It was not. I mean, I didn't puke, but it was definitely like I could feel that a little.
There's definitely certain trigger points in the film that just test your levels of like.
But that's kind of great because I feel like if you're gonna make art, you really should just go for it, and sometimes you don't really want a middle ground.
Yeah, sure. That's the thing. I think I'm a big, like my last film as well. It's kind of runs parallel to this one in the spirit of the film. It's in the sense that I wanted to do something that was fairly bold and something that just would provoke a reaction either way. And I didn't make The Heritage just to be like gross. That there's a lot of stuff in that film that people can take away from it, but it's one of those that it's there for people who want to surface value where it's gross and there's like different things going on, or people want to dig deeper. There is a lot of stuff going on under the surface under the fleshy blob. There's loads of things happening because the way I try and treat these films, especially like the kind of bizarre stuff, is the actual story and the actual characters. You could remove the horror and it could be a normal drama in a sense. A man who wants to meet his biological father and is ultimately like disappointed, and you could make a drama out of that. And I think that's ultimately one I like to base the films in, is something that can be relatable, but obviously it's just got such an extreme icing on the cake.
Here's a thought: keep it exactly the way it is, but a sitcom.
I'll add a laughter track.
Oh yes, do that please. So okay, would you ever consider if you had the means to make this into a feature film?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one really, because like I think if I did a feature of The Heritage, I think it'd be I think it'd be quite different. I think I'd probably take the themes and some of the genesises of the idea, but like maybe mold and transform into something else. I think this is a particular story in the heritage that I think I wouldn't want to expand that particular like pocket of a story. I think it'd be about taking the themes and some of the elements of that film and yeah. So in a kind of roundabout way, I think I could. Yeah, I think I'd like to as well. But it's I think it need a little bit of work, a little bit of time in the percolator.
So last question, like let's say a studio gave you a blank check, said make whatever you want. What would that dream project be?
Wow, that's a really difficult one. I've got so many as well in the old noggin. I think it's hard. I mean, it would be a horror film, undoubtedly. Horror is so dear to me, but I think it's always hard when you've got so many resources at your disposal. I always find that limitations actually kind of provoke a reaction from me a little bit more. I know that's such a cop-out answer, but yeah, I don't know really. It would be, there's so many ideas. I honestly don't know how to answer it. In all honesty, I've got so many ideas for feature films and even like a TV show as well. I'd love to make TV and horror and TV because there's so much good stuff out there at the moment. And I'd be a kid in a candy store.
Nice. Well, hey, listen, like that's awesome that you seem like you don't have a limitation on all the awesome stuff you want to do. So that's great. Yeah, and again, thank you so much for joining me to talk about the heritage. I think it's awesome. Again, everybody can check that out right now on Hulu as part of their bite-sized Halloween collection. And thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thank you, Emma.
Thank you, love.
Okay, thank you.
Follow. Bye.